Every spring, millions of gardeners buy seeds, plant them, nurse them, harvest them, and then watch the whole thing die. Then they do it again next year. What if I told you the most productive food plants you will ever grow don't work that way? No replanting, no starting over, no buying new seeds every season. They go in the ground once, they come back every single year, and the longer they live, the more they produce. We're talking about perennial vines, and most gardeners have never planted a single one. Today, I'm going to show you 20 of them. Some are ancient food crops that fed entire civilizations. Some are growing in gardens right now and being completely ignored as food. And one of them, the one I've saved for number 1, produces 4 completely different harvests from a single plant across 4 different seasons indefinitely. Stick around. Plant number 5 grows food both underground and in the air from the same vine. And plant number 2 fed the Pilgrims through their first American winter, then was promptly forgotten by the people it saved. Let's get into it. Before I give you number 20, I want to make one thing clear. This is not a list of obscure plants nobody eats. Every single vine on this list has fed real communities for decades, centuries, in some cases millennia. They disappeared from Western gardens, not because they stopped working, but because the annual gardening industry has no business model for a plant you only buy once. A perennial vine is a terrible product. One purchase, decades of food, no repeat sales. That is exactly why nobody told you about them. Here are 20 they forgot to mention.
20. Akebia, the chocolate vine nobody told you was food. This vine has been growing in Western gardens for over 150 years. It arrived from Japan in the 19th century as an ornamental, and that is exactly what it became. An ornamental, something to cover an arch and look pretty. Here is what nobody passed on with the plant. In Japan, it has been food for over 1,000 years. The young shoots are harvested in spring as a vegetable. The fruit, a pale lavender pod that splits open when ripe to reveal sweet white flesh, is a seasonal delicacy. In some regions, the rind is stuffed with miso, filled with meat, and baked, a preparation so specific it has its own culinary identity. The plant didn't change when it crossed the ocean. The knowledge didn't come with it. Tolerates shade, tolerates cold, grows vigorously across a wide range of climates. A Japanese forest delicacy growing on your garden arch right now, waiting to be recognized as what it actually is. 19. Loofah. One vine, 2 completely different products. You know the sponge. Almost nobody in the West knows the vegetable. Harvested young, before the fibers develop, loofah is a standard cooking ingredient across South and Southeast Asia, China, India, and West Africa. Stir-fried, curried, added to soups. Mild flavor, tender texture. It has been daily food across multiple continents for as long as those cuisines have existed. Leave it on the vine too long, it becomes the bathroom product you already know. One vine, 2 completely different harvests depending entirely on when you pick it. No other vine on this list offers that. Loofah didn't disappear from Western food culture because it stopped being edible. It arrived here as a sponge, and nobody thought to look earlier in the season. Look earlier. 18. Hops, the most expensive spring vegetable in Europe, thrown away. Yes, hops, the plant that makes beer. Here is what the brewing industry never mentioned. Hop shoots, harvested in early spring before the vines climb, are one of the most prized vegetables in European food tradition. In Belgium, they are sold at prices rivaling truffles. In some years, they are the most expensive vegetable in Europe by weight. Italian cuisine sautés them with garlic and olive oil. German and Austrian traditions treat them as a spring green on the same level as asparagus. The shoots emerge in March and April from root systems that can live for 50 years. Some hop crowns in European gardens are documented at over half a century old, still producing every spring without any help. One part of this plant became a billion-dollar global industry. The edible spring shoot was discarded as a byproduct. The most expensive spring vegetable in Europe, growing on a vine most people only associate with beer. 17. Mouse melon, the miniature cucumber that never stops. Mouse melon, Melothria scabra. The fruit is the size of a grape. It looks exactly like a miniature watermelon. The flavor is cucumber with a faint lime acidity, and it pickles beautifully. It has been growing in kitchen gardens across Mexico and Central America for so long that nobody is quite sure when it started. In warm climates, it is a true perennial. In temperate climates, it self-seeds so reliably that the distinction barely matters. Once it is in your garden, it returns without you asking. Small plant, enormous output, and one of the most visually striking things you will ever put in a jar. 16. Vine spinach, the climbing green 3 continents figured out. Vine spinach, Bacella alba, called poisog in India, a daily food across the Philippines, Indonesia, and sub-Saharan Africa. 3 food cultures with no historical connection to each other all eating the same vine. When 3 separate civilizations independently arrive at the same plant, pay attention. The leaves are large, glossy, and slightly succulent. They cook like spinach, but hold up to heat in ways spinach never manages. Climbs enthusiastically, produces continuously in warm climates, self-seeds prolifically in temperate ones. 3 continents figured it out. 1 forgot. You now know which one, and you know what to do about it. We're just getting started. The vines I've shown you so far are the warm-up. Plants 15 through 11 are where this list gets genuinely strange in the best possible way. We've got the immortality herb, the one-species supermarket, a vine that clones itself along its own stems, and one that an entire National Academy of Sciences formally recommended and an entire agricultural industry completely ignored. Stay with me.
15. Nasturtium, the perennial they're still selling you as an annual. In temperate climates, it's sold as an annual, planted in spring, pulled out in autumn, bought again next year. Here is what the seed packet doesn't say. In warm climates without hard frost, nasturtium is a perennial vine. It sprawls, it climbs, it returns from persistent stems for years. It reached Europe from South America in the 16th century and was immediately treated as food, not decoration. Flowers and leaves eaten in salads, seeds pickled as a substitute for capers. Every single part of the plant is edible, and it has genuine nutritional value, significant vitamin C, and glucosinolidates that have been studied for their health effects. Grown as the perennial it actually is, it becomes one of the most giving plants a garden can hold. The gardening industry is still selling it as a disposable annual. You now know better. 14. Jagulan, the longevity tea growing on your fence in shade. Called the immortality herb across southern China, a climbing vine that produces mild-tasting leaves consumed as tea and cooked greens for centuries. It contains compounds structurally similar to the ginsenosides found in ginseng, which earned it the name poor man's ginseng. In Guizhou province, where Jagulan tea consumption was historically highest, researchers documented unusually high concentrations of centenarians. That is a correlation, not a proof, but it is a correlation that held across an entire region for long enough that people noticed. Cold hardy to moderate frost, grows in shade, returns from the root each spring, a plant that asks for almost nothing, shade, which costs you nothing, and a fence, which you already have, and gives back every year without being asked. 13. Winged bean, the one-species supermarket. In Papua New Guinea, this plant is called the one-species supermarket, and that name is earned. Every single part of this vine is edible. The pods with their distinctive winged edges, the leaves, the flowers, the shoots, the tuberous roots, which contain protein levels comparable to soybeans, the mature seeds, also comparable to soybeans. 5 distinct edible components from a single vine. In 1975, the National Academy of Sciences published a formal report calling winged beans one of the most promising tropical food plants in the world, a recommendation from one of the most prestigious scientific institutions on Earth. Then nothing happened. Commercial agriculture didn't adopt it, the report gathered dust, the plant kept growing in the gardens where it had always grown, feeding the people it had always fed, completely indifferent to the industry that ignored it. A perennial in tropical climates, a highly productive annual in temperate ones. Your garden can do better than the industry did. Lablab bean, the vine that fed 3 ancient civilizations. Archaeological evidence places this vine in cultivation in Africa over 4,000 years ago. It independently embedded itself into Ayurvedic texts, ancient Egyptian records, and traditional African knowledge systems, 3 entirely separate cultures arriving at the same plant with no contact between them. When that happens, pay attention. Every part is edible at the right stage. Young pods cooked like green beans, young leaves cooked as a vegetable, mature seeds dried and cooked like lentils, though mature raw seeds contain compounds that require thorough cooking to neutralize, so that step matters. The flowers are edible and ornamental, ranging from white to deep purple. Some gardeners grow this vine purely for its beauty without ever knowing the entire plant is food. The beauty was always a bonus. The food function came first. In frost-free climates, a true perennial. In temperate gardens, it self-seeds so reliably that replanting becomes optional. 3 ancient civilizations, 1 vine, still waiting for a 4th to notice it. 11. Madeira vine, the vine that clones itself and feeds you from every stem. Known as binang in Indonesia, consumed as both food and traditional medicine across Asia, Africa, and the Pacific Islands, the leaves are mild and spinach-like. In warm climates, this vine covers a structure completely within 2 seasons. But here's the detail that makes it genuinely unusual. It produces aerial tubers along its stems, small bulb-like structures that form as the vine grows, each one capable of growing an entire new plant. One vine becomes many, without any effort from you, without any propagation work. The vine does it by itself, along its own stems, while it's also feeding you from its leaves. A plant that produces food, multiplies itself, and was classified as ornamental by Western gardening. The ornamental label was wrong. It was always food. Top 10. And I want to be honest with you. The vines I've shown you so far are genuinely remarkable. But the top 10 is where this list shifts from interesting to something else entirely. We're about to cover a vine that hides its best harvest underground, a passion fruit that survives winter without a greenhouse, a vine that fed the pilgrims and was forgotten by the people it saved. And at number 1, A plant that traditional Mexican gardening doesn't even describe as a vegetable. They describe it as a permanent member of the household. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because this channel exists specifically for the gardening knowledge that never makes it into mainstream guides.
10. American hog peanut, the vine that buries its best work. This vine grows wild across eastern North America. Above ground, it produces pods, modest, nothing special. But below ground, on separate underground stems, it produces seeds that are the actual harvest. Small, starchy, with a flavor similar to edamame. The Meskwaki, the Ojibwe, and other indigenous communities ate these seeds as regular food, not occasionally, regularly. Some communities harvested caches stored by squirrels, which tells you something important. A plant productive enough that humans competed with squirrels for its harvest was a genuinely meaningful food source. Grows in shade, tolerates poor soil, returns from the root each year. A vine that hides its best work underground. Only the most attentive gardeners ever find it. Now you know where to look. 9. Cyclanthera pedata, the stuffing cucumber from the Andes. Grown in the Andes for over 5,000 years, the hollow fruit is stuffed and cooked across Peruvian, Bolivian, and Colombian cuisine, a preparation method so well suited to the fruit structure that it seems designed for it. Young shoots and leaves are also edible. In frost-free conditions, it returns from the root. In temperate gardens, it self-seeds so reliably that the distinction between perennial and self-seeding becomes almost academic. The Andes solved vertical food gardening several thousand years ago. Most temperate gardeners are only discovering these plants now. 5,000 years of evidence is a reasonable amount of evidence. 8. Mashua, the Inca vine the Spanish tried to suppress. One of the primary food crops of the Inca Empire, growing above 3,000 meters in the Andes. Thin air, freezing nights, poor soil, conditions where most food plants fail entirely. Mashua produced reliable tuber harvests that helped sustain one of the largest empires in pre-Columbian history. Whether those accounts are precise or embellished, the result was the same. Mashua declined sharply. The Inca food system was dismantled, and Mashua was one of the casualties. Modern Andean communities still grow it. The tubers are peppery and complex, a mustard heat that mellows with cooking, eaten boiled, roasted, and freeze-dried. Leaves and flowers are edible and ornamental. And here is the detail that grounds it for gardeners in other climates. Mashua is a climbing relative of nasturtium. Same family, different continent, different purpose, same climbing habit. It tolerates cold, poor soil, and altitude better than almost any other tuber crop on Earth. The Inca's most reliable mountain food, climbing the walls of your garden, producing a harvest the Spanish tried to bury. 7. Maypop, the wild passion fruit that chose to survive winter. Cherokee healers used it as a sedative and anti-anxiety treatment for generations before European contact. Creek communities ate the ripe fruit fresh and dried it for winter stores. Children ate them like candy. Adults used them for medicine. The plant was treated as a dependable, returning food source. The fruit is a genuine passion fruit, smaller than commercial tropical varieties but similar in flavor. In 2001, a randomized controlled trial compared passion flower extract to oxazepam, a pharmaceutical anti-anxiety medication. The researchers found comparable effectiveness with fewer side effects. A folk tradition used for centuries, validated against a synthetic pharmaceutical through the methodology that tradition never needed. The mechanism the Cherokee observed confirmed. And here is what makes this vine genuinely extraordinary for gardeners in cold climates. It is cold hardy to well below freezing. It dies back to the ground each winter and returns vigorously from deep roots every spring. In cold climates, it returns predictably without ever becoming invasive. A passion fruit that chose to survive winter rather than demand a greenhouse. A medicinal plant that also makes jam. A vine that the Cherokee knew and that a 2001 clinical trial agreed with.
6. Hablitzia, the cold climate secret Scandinavian gardeners kept. A climbing perennial green from the mountains of the Caucasus. Scandinavian gardeners have been growing it quietly for over a century as one of the earliest and most productive spring greens available in cold climates. Here is what makes it remarkable. It emerges in late winter, not early spring, late winter, weeks before any other vegetable in the garden is produced. While the rest of the plot is still frozen or barely thawing, Hablitzia is already feeding you. It climbs up to 3 meters. The heart-shaped leaves taste mild and clean. No bitterness, no oxalic sharpness, just productive climbing greens. Multiple harvests across the entire growing season. Hard to extreme cold. Tolerates shade better than almost any productive food plant. Returns from the root year after year, getting more productive as it establishes. In Scandinavian food gardening circles, it has genuine cult status. Gardeners trade seeds and root divisions the way collectors trade rare finds. Outside those circles, almost nobody has heard of it. Until now. Top 5. and I need you to stay for all of them because these 5 are the reason I made this video. Number 5 grows food both above and below ground at the same time from a single vine. Number 4 is the most proven food vine in human history, and most people who grow it are using less than half of what it produces. Number 3 lost to a worse-tasting fruit because of shelf life. Number 2 saved the European settlement of North America and was forgotten within a generation. And number 1 is not just a plant, it's a different philosophy of what a food garden is for. Don't skip ahead. Number 1 earns it. 5. Chinese yam, potatoes in the air, something better underground. Cultivated in East Asia for over 2,000 years. Traditional Chinese medicine used the root as a daily tonic food, not emergency medicine, not occasional treatment. Daily food. Appearing in texts from the Tang Dynasty as something eaten regularly for health maintenance. Japanese cuisine developed an entirely separate tradition around the same plant, grating the raw root into tororo, used as a sauce over rice and noodles. 2 cultures, no contact between their food traditions on this plant, same conclusion about the same vine. Now here's the detail that changes everything for the gardener. As the vine climbs, it produces aerial bulbils, small potato-like structures that form along the stems throughout the growing season. These are edible after cooking. They can also be planted to grow new vines. Some Chinese yam plants have stayed in continuous family cultivation for centuries. The root systems maintained and harvested across generations. The way an English family maintains a hedge, Chinese families maintained yam root systems, harvesting some, leaving the rest to grow. A vine that grows food in the air while building something even better underground. 4. Grape, the most proven food vine in history, still being underused. The most productive perennial food vine in human history, cultivated for over 8,000 years across every civilization that had access to the genus. Some documented grapevines are over 400 years old and still producing fruit. 4 centuries from a single planting. No other food plant on Earth has that documented track record. But here's what Western gardening forgot. Grape leaves are food. 2 completely separate harvests from the same vine. The fruit and the leaves, both with their own culinary traditions spanning thousands of years, both from one planting that lasts a lifetime. Most Western gardeners who grow grapes never harvest a single leaf. Half the production is left on the vine because nobody mentioned it was food. A mature grapevine produces fruit, leaves, and shade. 3 functions, 1 vine. 50 years minimum from a single planting. The most proven food vine in history, still being used at half capacity. 3. Hardy kiwi, the better tasting fruit that lost to the one that ships. Native to Siberia, northern China, Korea, and Japan. Called sarunashi, the monkey pear in Japanese. Eaten wild and semi-cultivated for centuries. The fruit is eaten skin and all, no peeling. The flavor is intensely sweet, brighter, more aromatic than any commercial kiwi you have ever bought, with a grape-like quality that makes it genuinely difficult to stop eating once you start. Every person who tastes hardy kiwi for the first time asks the same question. Why is this not in every grocery store? The answer is shelf life. Hardy kiwi bruises within days of harvest, ripens fast, cannot survive the supply chain that modern retail demands. So it was never commercialized at scale. The better tasting fruit lost to the one that ships better. 3 to 5 years from planting to meaningful harvest, then decades of fruit. The vine you plant this year is the vine your children harvest from. It is lost to the fruit that travels better, not the fruit that tastes better. Your garden doesn't need a supply chain. 2. American groundnut, the vine that saved the Pilgrims, then was forgotten. A native North American vine with a 2,000-year record of cultivation by indigenous peoples across eastern North America. The Wampanoag, the Lenape, the Cherokee, the Iroquois. For all of them, this was not a supplemental food, it was a primary crop, the protein crop. The tubers contain 3 times the protein of potatoes, nutty flavor, suited to boiling, roasting, or drying into flour. A single planting spreads underground via stolons, the tuber chain expanding each year without any effort from the gardener. Year 1, a handful of small tubers. Year 3, enough for a meal. Year 5, enough to share. Year 10, a spreading underground network producing more food than a single family needs. It grows in partial shade and moist soils where most food plants struggle. It fixes nitrogen through root bacteria, improving its own soil while it feeds you. The vine saved the settlement forgot the plant. Your garden doesn't have to make the same mistake. Number 1. Chayote, the vine that gives everything, indefinitely. In the highlands of Mexico and Guatemala, where chayote has been cultivated for over 1,000 years, an established vine does not behave like a plant, it becomes a structure. The roots develop into massive storage organs, documented at over 20 pounds in mature specimens. Entire food systems in traditional Mexican homestead gardens are built around a single multi-decade chayote vine. 1 plant, 4 distinct harvests, 4 different seasons. Shoot tips in spring, cooked like asparagus. Flowers in early summer are eaten in quesadillas and soups. Fruit across the warm months is over 100 in a good season from a mature vine. Massive starchy roots every few years, dug and cooked like potatoes. Traditional Mesoamerican culture does not describe it as a vegetable. The same family, the same harvest, year after year, decade after decade. Not just the food, the relationship. The idea that a plant could be a permanent member of the household, not a seasonal guest. Chayote is ready to make that commitment to your garden the moment you put it in the ground.